First of all, the entire process of developing a heart attack is very complex. It actually begins when a plaque inside the coronary artery that supplies the heart, when it gives away, when it ruptures, the platelets gather over there and artery becomes 100% occluded. As soon as this phenomenon happens, the heart attack begins. After that, if you reach the hospital on time, you get blood thinners or you undergo angioplasty, then the recovery is quick. Sometimes 15 to 25% of the population, especially in rural areas and areas without a good access to the hospitals, they succumb before reaching the hospital.
Okay.
But how does this plaque rupture happen?
Okay.
So it is a multifactorial process. The process of atherosclerosis, it is said that it begins in the cradle and ends in the grave. It happens across the whole population, it happens in everybody, but each individual has a different risk of suffering a heart attack.
Right.
This risk entirely depends on your own body, your genetics that you get from your parents. Like you can choose your spouse, but you can never choose your parents because genes are inherited, they are not under your control.
Right.
So family history is a risk factor which is not modifiable. It is not in our hands. But if you know that people in your family are suffering from heart attacks or strokes, then if you get evaluated for yourself early on, then you might be able to find certain risk factors. Like you might be having blood pressure, which is asymptomatic, you don't have symptoms, or you might be having some borderline diabetes, or you might be a diabetic, you have never suffered any symptom, or you might be having high cholesterol level, but you have never undergone screening process, so you don't know what is going on inside your body.
Right.
All these factors together with modifiable risk factors like sedentary lifestyle, you don't exercise, smoking,
Right.
stopping it is totally under your control. When all these factors come together, the risk of heart attack increases. But at least 70 to 80% of that risk of suffering a heart attack at a young age is entirely in our hands if we can screen the patients early on and treat the risk factors at the right time. So lifestyle modification, modifiable risk factors, we can control a heart attack by 70 to 80%. Genetics is not under our control, but other risk factors can be controlled up to a great extent. So if you look at exercise, there was a time when like 2 or 3 generations back, when most of the population were either engaged into farming or some kind of labor work. There we did not have vehicles in that abundance, so the primary mode of transport was either walking or a bicycle. So that was the time when physical activity was very good. Even if you wanted to communicate a message inside your home, you would walk to the room, to your relative's room and communicate. In these days, we are doing everything by phone. So the new generation has been getting a lot of scientific gadgets which have made them very sedentary.
Right.
So a subset will use all this, but will also use smart watches and maintain their fitness. And there is a part of the population which lives a totally sedentary life, and I have seen young men in 20s or 30s not exercising at all.
Right.
So with current evidence, we have sufficient data to prove that just simply exercising as per the guidelines can reduce the risk of heart attack by more than 50%.
Okay.
So what the American College of Cardiology tells us is that if you are sitting like we are, that is better than lying down.
Okay.
Standing is better than sitting. Walking is better than standing. Running is better than walking. So ultimately, more you move, the better it is for you. But what are the thresholds? Up to what extent do you get the maximum benefit? So they say that to get the most out of exercise, you do aerobic exercise for at least 150 minutes per week. Now, aerobic exercise means that your heart rate should be between 60 to 80% of your age calculated maximum. So, if you are 20, then you subtract your age from 220. So, 200 is the maximum heart rate that you can achieve. You don't need to go up to that. But if you stay in the 60 to 80% zone, so if you are in the heart rate of between 120 to 140 for at least 150 minutes per week, that is sufficient to protect you from cardiac problems by a great extent. And this benefit goes on increasing till you reach up to 300 minutes of aerobic activity per week. And after 300 minutes, there is a plateau.
Right.
You don't get benefit, you are not harmed, but if you still want to do, you can do. There are two types of personalities. One is type A personality and one is type D personality. Both of these personalities are at a higher risk of suffering major cardiac events. So type A personalities are those who always want to win. They are those who want to win a marathon, they want to top their exam, they want to earn the most of the money, and they are ready to work hard, and they do everything that they can to reach their goals. They are always in stress, and when you are in stress, your body releases bad hormones. Those bad hormones damage all your organs, especially your heart.
Not just heart.
Not just heart. It damages all the organs. The bad hormones increase your blood pressure. When blood pressure goes up, blood circulation is compromised in all the organs.
Right.
And type D personality are the depressed ones. They are never happy. Whatever they have, they never get happy. Even they might be releasing certain bad hormones which are not good for the body. So first of all, the first thing which is in your hands is your lifestyle.
Right.
We cannot talk about the non-modifiable risk factors like your age or your genetics. You cannot reverse your age, it is not in your hands. You cannot change your parents, so your genes cannot be changed.
Right.
But the first thing that you can do, which is good for you, is start exercising.
Right.
Like if you are not even walking, you should start to walk. If you can walk well, you start to run. Then you go into aerobic exercise, and then you reach our mentioned target of up to 300 minutes of aerobic activity per week. And looking at the diet, the processed foods, the fast food, sugar sweetened beverages like Coca-Cola and Pepsi, the modern day food that you are getting at home, which is ready to eat, it contains lot of preservatives, and those preservatives are very high in sodium.
Right.
All this kind of processed food that we are taking, even if you cannot avoid it, you should dramatically reduce it. And the intake of fruits, vegetables, fats with polyunsaturated fatty acids like olive oil, avocado oil, all this intake should be encouraged.